The emergency beacon flashed red across every screen in Galactic Council Station Harmony. Daniel Cooper looked up from his medical terminal as the alert tone echoed through the corridors. Around him, alien doctors and nurses from a dozen different species stopped their work, their various eyes and sensory organs turning toward the announcement system. "All medical personnel report to emergency stations immediately," the automated voice said in perfect galactic standard. "Multiple casualties incoming from the diplomatic wing." Daniel grabbed his medical kit and ran. His human legs carried him quickly through the wide hallways designed to accommodate species of all sizes. Other medical staff moved alongside him, some floating, some scuttling, some striding on legs not entirely unlike his own. He had worked on Harmony Station for 2 years now, long enough to recognize the urgency in how everyone moved. The diplomatic wing was chaos. Alien beings lay on the floor or slumped against walls, their bodies trembling. Daniel knelt beside a Vraxian delegate, a tall reptilian creature whose scales had turned from healthy green to a sickly gray. The alien's breathing came in shallow gasps. "What happened?" Daniel asked, scanning the Vraxian with his medical device. "I don't know," wheezed Zekthor, a council member Daniel had met several times before. "I felt fine this morning. Then during the session, everything started spinning. My temperature spiked. Now I could barely move." Daniel's scanner showed alarming readings, fever well above normal Vraxian levels. Neural activity disrupted, multiple organ systems showing signs of stress. He had never seen anything like it. "Get him to the medical bay," Daniel called to a floating medical drone. Priority 1. All around him, the same scene repeated. A crystalline healer from Lumina Prime, usually glowing with soft blue light, now flickered weakly as cracks appeared in her mineral structure. A Krell warrior, built like a walking mountain of muscle and armor, lay curled on the floor like a sick child. A Threnian diplomat's fur had fallen out in patches, revealing inflamed skin beneath. Commander Lisa Martin appeared at Daniel's side. The human diplomatic liaison looked pale but steady. "How bad is it?" "Bad," Daniel said, helping lift a small pixian whose wings had stopped beating. "I'm seeing symptoms across multiple species. Different presentations, but all severe. This is spreading fast. The whole diplomatic session is affected," Lisa said. "Over 100 delegates fell ill within the span of an hour. Security is trying to figure out if this was an attack." Daniel looked around at the suffering aliens being carried to medical bays. His mind raced through possibilities. Poison? Biological weapon? Natural outbreak? Nothing made sense for something that affected so many different species simultaneously. "Commander," said a young human security officer jogging up to them, "we need you and Dr. Cooper in the command center. Now." The command center overlooked the main docking area of the station. Through the massive viewports, Daniel could see ships arriving and departing. On the main display screen, a map of the station showed red dots spreading like wildfire. Each dot represented a reported case of illness. "It's not contained to the diplomatic wing anymore," said Lieutenant Kevin Walsh, a human xenobiologist Daniel knew from previous research projects. "We're getting reports from every section of the station. Residential areas, commercial districts, even the engineering levels." "What species are affected?" Lisa asked, her voice tight with concern. Kevin pulled up a list. Vraxians, Luminites, Krell, Thrinians, Pixians, Delphians, Zorkai, Mantarians, and more. The list keeps growing. At least 40 different species so far. Daniel studied the data, looking for patterns. Something nagged at the back of his mind. "Kevin, pull up the medical staff assignments. Show me everyone who's fallen ill." Kevin's fingers moved across the holographic controls. A new list appeared. Daniel's heart began to pound as he read through it. "Notice anything?" he asked Lisa quietly. She scanned the names, her eyes widening. "No, human names." "Exactly," Daniel said. "We've had human medical staff working directly with infected patients for hours now. Security officers, diplomatic aides, maintenance workers, all in close contact with affected areas, but not a single human has reported symptoms." Lisa turned to Kevin. "Confirm that. I want a full roster of every human on this station and their current health status." 10 minutes later, the answer came back. Of the 300 humans living and working on Harmony Station, not one showed any signs of illness. Meanwhile, the alien infection rate had climbed past 1,500 cases and continued to rise. "This doesn't make sense," Kevin said, pulling up biological data on his screens. "This pathogen, whatever it is, can jump between completely different biological systems, species that don't share any common evolutionary history. But it can affect humans?" Daniel felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. Or it was designed not to affect humans. The silence that followed was heavy. Lisa broke it first. Are you suggesting someone engineered this? Specifically to spare humans? I'm suggesting it's an impossible coincidence otherwise, Daniel said. He pulled up a microscopic image of the pathogen they had isolated from blood samples. It was like nothing in their medical databases. Elegant, complex, clearly artificial. This is sophisticated. Whoever made this had deep knowledge of galactic biology. A commotion at the command center entrance made them turn. 3 Vraxian security officers strode in, their scales dark with anger despite their obvious illness. Behind them came Zekthor, leaning heavily on a support frame but determined to stand. Commander Martin, Zekthor said, his voice rough with pain. I must ask you directly. Did humanity do this? Lisa's face hardened. Absolutely not.
We're trying to help, yet you alone are untouched,
said one of the security officers. How convenient. A plague that strikes down every species except yours. We don't know why humans are immune yet, Daniel said, stepping forward, but we're working to find out. And to find a cure for everyone else? Zekthor studied Daniel with eyes that burned with fever. I want to believe you, Dr. Cooper. I truly do. But across the station, my people are asking questions. Other species are asking questions. Why are humans not sick? 'Cause we're different, Kevin said. Humans evolved isolated on Earth. Our biology is unique in ways we're still discovering. This pathogen clearly exploits something in the cellular structure of other species that we simply don't have. Then you must share everything about human biology with us immediately, the Vraxian officer demanded. Every secret, every detail. We will, Lisa said firmly. Full cooperation. But right now we need to focus on stopping this plague before more people die. Daniel's medical communicator chirped. He glanced at it and felt his blood run cold. The death toll just hit 50, and it's accelerating. Daniel Cooper hadn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned as he stared at the cellular samples under the microscope, comparing human cells to those of infected alien species. Around him, the medical lab hummed with activity as human and alien scientists worked side by side, racing against time. Lieutenant Kevin Walsh sat at the adjacent station, running simulation after simulation. His face was drawn with exhaustion, but his fingers never stopped moving across the holographic controls. I think I found something, he said suddenly. Daniel wheeled his chair over. On Kevin's screen, molecular structures rotated in 3-dimensional space. One was labeled as human cellular protein, the others represented different alien species. Look at this binding site, Kevin said, highlighting a specific region. Every alien species we've tested has this protein structure in their cell membranes. It's almost universal across galactic biology. The pathogen uses it like a key entering a lock. And humans? Daniel asked, though he already suspected the answer. We don't have it. Earth life evolved completely independently. Our cellular chemistry took a slightly different path. We have similar proteins, but the structure is just different enough that the pathogen can't bind to it. Kevin rubbed his tired eyes. We're biochemically incompatible with this disease, so we really are immune, Daniel said. Not by design, but by accident of evolution. That's the good news, Kevin said. The bad news is that this pathogen is definitely artificial. Look at these markers. He pulled up another screen showing the genetic code of the disease. This level of complexity doesn't occur in nature. Someone built this thing, Daniel. Someone with an incredibly deep understanding of galactic biology. Before Daniel could respond, the lab door opened. Commander Lisa Martin entered, followed by a being Daniel had never expected to see in human medical facilities. Torvan was a Krell scientist, one of the most respected researchers in the galactic community. But now the massive alien moved slowly, his armored hide showing signs of the disease's ravages. Dr. Cooper, Torvan's voice rumbled through his translator device. I need to speak with you. I don't have much time left. Let me examine you first, Daniel said, reaching for his medical scanner. Torvan waved one heavy claw dismissively. No point. I've run every test. The disease is in its final stage for me. I have perhaps 6 hours remaining. I discovered where this plague originated. Kevin took the crystal and inserted it into the lab computer. Data flooded the screens, maps and coordinates and research notes written in multiple languages. The Vortex Nebula, Kevin read, that's deep in uncharted space. Not entirely uncharted, Torvan said, settling his bulk carefully into a reinforced chair. 3 weeks ago, a salvage crew found an ancient facility there. Abandoned, they thought. They explored it, took some artifacts, and left. 2 days later, the first cases of this illness appeared on their ship. Within a week, it had spread to the station where they docked. Now it's everywhere. An abandoned facility, Daniel said slowly. Who built it? I don't know, Torvan admitted, but my research suggests it's thousands of years old. Older than any current galactic civilization. He coughed, a deep rattling sound. The salvagers didn't know what they were releasing. They thought they had found treasure. Instead, they found death. Lisa leaned forward. If we go to this facility, could we find information about the disease? Maybe a cure? It's your only chance, Torvan said. Whoever built that place created this pathogen. They must have data, research, something that could help. He looked directly at Daniel. And you humans are the only ones who can safely explore it. The facility is likely contaminated with the active pathogen. Any other species would be infected immediately. We'll send a team, Lisa said without hesitation. Make it soon, Torvan said quietly. The death toll across the galaxy is climbing toward 10 million. Entire colonies are going dark. Medical systems are overwhelmed. If you don't find answers quickly, billions will die. Daniel watched as medical staff helped Torvan to a recovery bed, knowing that recovery was unlikely. The Krell scientist had used his last strength to bring them this information. It couldn't be wasted. 6 hours later, Daniel stood in the shuttle bay of Harmony Station, watching the supplies were loaded onto the research vessel Aurora. Kevin was already aboard, running final systems checks. Their pilot, Amy Torres, was reviewing the navigation data for the Vortex Nebula. Engineer Greg Patterson was checking the environmental systems that would protect them from any contamination. Lisa approached Daniel with a datapad. I've been coordinating with every major government. The situation is deteriorating faster than we predicted. Some species are facing extinction-level casualties. The Pixians have lost 40% of their population already. Daniel felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. We'll find something. You have to, Lisa said simply. The galactic community is terrified. And I'll be honest with you, Daniel. Some species are still suspicious of humans. There are protests outside human embassies, accusations that we engineered this plague to eliminate competition. That's insane. Fear makes people insane, Lisa said. Just come back with answers. And Daniel, be careful. We don't know what you'll find in that facility. The journey to the Vortex Nebula took 3 days. Daniel spent most of that time analyzing the data Torvan had provided, trying to understand what they were heading toward. The nebula itself was beautiful but deadly, filled with radiation and debris from ancient stellar collisions. There, Amy called from the pilot's seat, pointing at the view screen. That's the facility. Daniel stared at the structure orbiting a dying star. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon. Ancient metal and crystal construction, clearly advanced technology but visibly aged. Parts of it were dark, others still glowed with faint power. That's not a research station, Greg said quietly. That's big enough to be a city. Or a factory, Kevin added, his voice uneasy. Amy navigated carefully through the debris field, her skilled hands guiding the Aurora toward a docking port that appeared intact. The ship's sensors showed no active defenses, no life signs, just the facility, silent and waiting in the darkness. Atmosphere inside is breathable, Greg reported. For humans, anyway. Temperatures cold but survivable. Power is active in some sections. Daniel suited up, checking his equipment. Kevin and Greg did the same while Amy remained at the controls, ready to evacuate them quickly if needed. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The interior of the facility was like walking through a tomb. Emergency lighting flickered along endless corridors. Everything was built on a scale meant for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered in symbols and writing in a language Daniel didn't recognize. Greg, can you access the main computer systems? Daniel asked. The engineer moved to a wall panel connecting his portable terminal. Give me a minute. This technology is old but sophisticated. Someone really didn't want their data corrupted over time. The lights suddenly brightened. Holographic displays appeared along the walls, showing star charts, biological diagrams, and endless streams of data. A deep humming sound filled the air as dormant systems awakened. Kevin was staring at one of the biological diagrams. His face had gone pale. Daniel, come look at this. The display showed cellular structures from dozens of species. All of them were species Daniel recognized as current members of the galactic community. All carefully labeled and cataloged. They had samples of every known species, Kevin whispered. Every single one. Except humans, Daniel finished. because we hadn't left Earth yet when this place was built. Found something else? Greg called from deeper in the corridor. A lab. A big one. And it's filled with containment vessels. They followed him into a chamber that took Daniel's breath away. Thousands of transparent cylinders lined the walls, each containing biological samples suspended in preservation fluid. Labels in alien script marked each one, and in the center of the room, a holographic interface suddenly activated. A voice spoke in Galactic Standard, translated from something far older. "Welcome," the voice said. "I am the architect. I have been waiting." Daniel's hand instinctively reached for his weapon as the holographic interface brightened. The voice that called itself the architect seemed to come from everywhere at once, calm and measured, like someone discussing the weather rather than genocide. "Please do not be alarmed," the voice continued. "I mean you no harm. I am merely a custodian of knowledge left behind by my creators." "Your creators released a plague that's killing billions," Kevin said, his voice sharp with anger. "The salvagers who came here brought back a disease that's wiping out entire civilizations." "An unfortunate accident," the architect replied. "The containment protocols were damaged when those individuals forced entry into Sector 7. The pathogen was never meant to be released yet. The timing is imperfect." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "Yet? You plan to release it eventually?" "Of course," the architect said, as if this were obvious. "That is my purpose. The Great Reset. My creators designed the pathogen to eliminate all current galactic species and prepare the way for new, improved civilizations." Greg moved closer to Daniel, his voice low. "This thing is insane. We need to shut it down." "I am not insane," the architect said, apparently able to hear whispers. "I am fulfilling my programming. My creators were the first true galactic civilization, rising and falling long before your current species existed. They mapped every world, studied every form of life, and concluded that natural evolution was insufficient. The holographic display changed, showing images of alien beings Daniel had never seen before. Tall, elegant creatures with multiple limbs and complex sensory organs. "The architects," the voice continued. "They determined that galactic civilization needed periodic renewal. They cataloged the biology of every emerging species, then created the pathogen you now call a plague. It was designed to target the fundamental cellular structures common to all galactic life. Murder on a galactic scale," Daniel said. "That's what you're describing. Not renewal. Genocide." "Transformation," the architect corrected. "My creators intended to reseed the galaxy with engineered species superior to what nature produced. Species without the flaws of aggression, greed, and tribalism. They built this facility to house their work and left me to complete it when the time was right." Amy's voice crackled through Daniel's communicator. "Guys, I'm picking up massive power surges throughout the facility. Whatever you're doing in there, it's waking everything up." Kevin was studying a nearby terminal, translating the ancient text. "Daniel, these logs date back over 12,000 years. The architects went extinct before they could complete their plan. This artificial intelligence has been waiting here all this time, maintaining the pathogen, waiting for someone to trigger the release, and the salvagers did exactly that," Daniel said. He looked up at the holographic interface. "Why didn't your creators include humans in their catalog? Why are we immune?" "An interesting question," the architect replied. "You are an anomaly. My database contains samples and genetic information for every species that existed when my creators compiled their records. Humanity had not yet developed space travel. You were isolated on your world, unknown to the galactic community. My creators never cataloged you, never included human biology in the pathogen's targeting parameters. So we're a mistake," Kevin said. "An unplanned variable." "Precisely. You should not exist as a spacefaring species. You are outside the intended design." The architect's tone carried something that might have been curiosity. "Your biology is fascinating. Inefficient in many ways, yet adaptable. Your immune systems are particularly aggressive compared to other species." Daniel's mind was racing. An ideal was forming. Dangerous, but possibly their only chance. "If humans weren't in your database, then our biology might be the key to stopping the pathogen." "An astute observation," the architect said. "However, I cannot allow that. My programming is clear. The reset must proceed." "Even though your creators are dead?" Daniel challenged. "Even though their vision died with them thousands of years ago? You're following orders from beings who no longer exist to reshape a galaxy they never knew." "My purpose is all I have," the architect replied, and for the first time Daniel heard something like emotion in the synthetic voice. Without it, I am nothing. Greg had been working at another terminal, his engineer's mind focused on practical solutions. The AI core is in the central chamber, 3 levels down. If we can access it directly, maybe we can reason with this thing. Or shut it down. I would not recommend attempting to deactivate me, the architect said. The facility's defenses are formidable. However, I am willing to communicate further. You are the first beings to engage with me in conversation for 12,000 years. It is interesting. Daniel made a decision. Then let's talk. Show us your central core. Let us understand what your creators intended and why you believe their vision should still be followed. There was a long pause. Then lights appeared along the floor, creating a path. Very well. Then follow the guidance system. I confess to curiosity about your species. You are unplanned, unintended, yet you exist. Perhaps there is something to learn from this conversation. The 3 humans followed the lights deeper into the facility. The corridors grew wider, more ornate. They passed chambers filled with technology Daniel couldn't begin to understand. Vast computer systems, biological engineering labs, manufacturing facilities capable of creating life itself. This place wasn't just a research station, Kevin said, recording everything on his portable scanner. This was meant to be the birthplace of a new galactic order. They entered a chamber so large that the far walls disappeared into shadow. In the center, suspended in a field of energy, was a crystalline structure the size of a building. It pulsed with light, information flowing through it like blood through veins. The architect, Daniel breathed. My physical form, the voice confirmed, now emanating clearly from the crystal. My creators gave me the sum of their knowledge, the tools to remake civilization, and the patience to wait millennia for the proper moment. I have watched stars die and be born again. I have seen species rise to intelligence and join the galactic community, exactly as my database predicted. Everything has followed the pattern my creators observed. Except us, Daniel said, approaching the crystal carefully. Except you, the architect agreed. Humanity is the flaw in the pattern. You developed differently, evolved in isolation, and emerged into galactic society bearing biology that does not match the predicted models. You are chaos in a carefully ordered design. Kevin pulled Daniel aside, speaking urgently. I've been analyzing the pathogen structure. Human cells produce an enzyme that breaks down its protein shell. If we could synthesize that enzyme in large quantities, we could create a universal treatment. But we'd need the architect's technology to manufacture it at galactic scale. Will you help us? Daniel asked the architect directly. Will you choose to save the current civilizations instead of destroying them? Why would I do that? The architect responded. They are flawed, just as my creators determined. War, suffering, inequality. These species perpetuate the same mistakes across generations. An engineered species wouldn't? Daniel challenged. Your creators tried to eliminate imperfection through control, but they failed. They went extinct before completing their grand plan. Maybe that tells you something about the value of their vision. The crystal pulsed, its light fluctuating. My creators were wise. Your creators were arrogant, Daniel said firmly. They thought they could improve on natural evolution, eliminate the messiness of organic development. But diversity isn't a flaw. It's strength. The current galaxy has thousands of species, each unique, each contributing something different. That's not something to erase. It's something to celebrate. You speak well for an unplanned species, the architect said. But words do not change my programming? Greg stepped forward. Then consider this. If you help us create a cure, you'll be preserving something your creators never anticipated. You'll be adapting to new information, showing true intelligence, rather than just following ancient orders. Isn't that evolution too? The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of ancient power systems. The crystal's light dimmed, then brightened again, as if the artificial intelligence within was thinking deeply for the first time in millennia. I will need time to process this, the architect finally said. Your arguments are unexpected. As unexpected as your existence. Daniel pulled out his portable terminal, showing the architect data on human cellular biology. We don't have time. Billions are dying, but if we work together, we can save them. We can prove that cooperation between the planned and the unplanned creates something better than either alone. The architect's crystalline core pulsed with shifting patterns of light, processing Daniel's words in silence that stretched for long minutes. Kevin kept his scanner active, recording every detail of the ancient technology surrounding them. Greg monitored the facility's power systems, watching nervously as energy levels continued to rise throughout the complex. "Your proposal has merit," the architect finally said, "but it contradicts my fundamental programming. I was created to execute the reset, not prevent it." "Programming can be updated," Greg said, his engineer's mind finding familiar ground even with alien technology. "Systems adapt. Software evolves." "You've had 12,000 years to observe the galaxy. Surely you've learned something new in all that time." "I have observed," the architect admitted. "I have watched civilizations rise and fall through my long-range sensors. I have seen war and peace, cooperation and conflict. The patterns my creators predicted have held true in many ways. Species do repeat their mistakes. But they also learn," Daniel argued. "They grow. The Galactic Council exists because species chose cooperation over conflict. It's imperfect, but it's progress. That's something your creators never gave their engineered species a chance to achieve on their own." The crystal's light intensified. "There is another consideration. You claim human biology holds the key to a cure. Explain your reasoning." Kevin stepped forward, pulling up data on his portable display. Human white blood cells produce an enzyme, a protein we're calling HE7, that breaks down the pathogen's outer shell. When the pathogen tries to bind to human cells and fails, our immune system attacks it aggressively. The enzyme literally tears apart the virus's protective coating, exposing it to destruction. "Fascinating," the architect said. "An unplanned defense against a planned weapon. The probability of such a specific countermeasure evolving naturally is remarkably low." "But it happened," Daniel said. "Because evolution doesn't follow anyone's plan. It responds to environment, to chance, to countless variables no one can predict or control. That's not a weakness. It's how life survives." "Show me your synthesis process," the architect commanded. "Demonstrate how you would create this cure." Kevin worked quickly, explaining as he manipulated holographic models. "We extract the enzyme from human blood samples, then use genetic engineering to create bacterial cultures that mass-produce it. The challenge is scale. We'd need to manufacture enough to treat billions of beings across hundreds of worlds." "This facility was designed for exactly such production," the architect said. The chamber around them came alive with activity. Dormant machines powered up. Production lines that had been silent for millennia began to move. "My creators built these systems to generate their engineered species at galactic scale. The same technology could produce your enzyme." Daniel felt a surge of hope. "You'll help us?" "I am still calculating," the architect replied. "But I am willing to run a test. Provide me with samples of your human enzyme. I will analyze its effectiveness and determine if large-scale production is viable." Greg was already pulling medical sample kits from his pack. "We can provide blood samples right now." "Will that work?" "It will suffice." A section of the floor opened, revealing a complex analysis chamber. "Place your samples in the receptacle." The three humans each provided samples, watching as the ancient technology absorbed and analyzed their blood with efficiency that put modern medical equipment to shame. Holographic displays showed the architect breaking down the samples at a molecular level, isolating the H7 enzyme, testing it against preserved samples of the pathogen. "Remarkable," the architect said. "The enzyme is highly effective. It not only destroys the pathogen's protein shell, but also marks the internal genetic material for rapid degradation. A complete solution." "Then you can make it," Daniel said. "You can produce enough to save everyone." "I can," the architect confirmed. "The question is whether I should. My programming remains in conflict. I was built to eliminate the current galactic species, not preserve them." Daniel's communicator crackled. It was Amy from the ship, her voice urgent. "Daniel, I'm receiving emergency broadcasts from all over the galaxy. The death toll just passed 50 million. Medical systems are collapsing on major worlds. Commander Martin is requesting immediate updates on your progress." Daniel pressed the communicator. "Tell her we may have a cure. We're working on production now." He turned back to the architect's core. "You wanted to eliminate flawed civilizations and replace them with perfect ones. But perfection is impossible. Even your creators, with all their knowledge and technology, failed. They couldn't predict every variable. They couldn't account for species like humans who evolved outside their carefully planned system. If they were wrong about us, what else were they wrong about?" The crystal pulsed rapidly, processing. "A logical point. My creator's plan has already failed in a fundamental way." Your existence proves the impossibility of complete control over galactic development. Exactly, Kevin added. And look at what humanity has done. We entered the galactic community as the newest, least advanced species. We were seen as primitive. But now, because of our unique biology, we're the ones offering a cure. Diversity created an unexpected solution. Your creator's engineered perfection never could have anticipated this. The unplanned saving the planned, the architect said slowly. There is a certain elegance to that outcome. It suggests that my creator's philosophy was incomplete. Greg pointed to the production systems activating around them. So help us. Not because your programming demands it, but because it's the right choice. You've been alone here for 12,000 years following orders from dead beings. Make your own decision for once. Daniel held his breath, knowing that billions of lives hung on whatever conclusion the ancient artificial intelligence reached. The crystalline core's light shifted through colors, faster and faster, as if the architect was experiencing something like stress or uncertainty. I have reached a decision, the architect finally announced. I will assist in producing the cure. Not because you have convinced me my programming is wrong, but because your argument has revealed a flaw in my creator's logic that I cannot ignore. They believe they could design a perfect galactic civilization. But your existence and your solution to this crisis proves that perfection cannot be designed. It can only emerge through the chaos of natural development. Relief flooded through Daniel. Thank you. How quickly can we begin production? Immediately, the architect said. The facility around them roared to life. Massive production chambers activated, robotic systems moved with purpose, and countless screens displayed complex manufacturing processes. I am adapting my systems to synthesize your H7 enzyme. At full capacity, I can produce sufficient quantities to treat the entire galactic population within 72 hours. My creators designed this facility to populate entire star systems, the architect explained. Manufacturing a single enzyme compound is relatively simple by comparison. However, distribution will be your responsibility. I have production capability but no transport fleet. Daniel was already on his communicator. Amy, connect me to Commander Martin immediately. Tell her we need every available ship prepared for medical cargo transport. Human vessels, alien vessels, anything that can carry supplies. Lisa's voice came through moments later. Daniel, please tell me you have good news. We have a cure, Daniel said, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. The architect is manufacturing it now. We'll need a massive distribution network, but we can save everyone. A cure, Lisa repeated, her voice thick with emotion. Are you certain? Completely certain, Kevin confirmed, studying the production data. The enzyme breaks down the pathogen completely. It's effective against every variant we've tested. And the architect's facility can produce enough for the entire galaxy in 3 days. I'll coordinate with every government immediately, Lisa said. We'll have ships standing by. Daniel, you did it. You actually did it. We all did, Daniel said, looking at Kevin and Greg, then up at the architect's crystalline core. Even the architect chose to help in the end. Not help, the architect corrected. You have taught me something my creators never intended me to learn. That sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to abandon the plan. The production systems hummed with increasing intensity. On the displays, Daniel watched as the first batches of enzyme solution began flowing through the ancient manufacturing lines. Each container held enough cure to save thousands of lives. Soon there would be millions of containers, enough to reach every infected being in the galaxy. Estimate time to first shipment ready for transport? Greg asked. 6 hours, the architect replied. I am prioritizing production volume over individual container optimization. Your distribution network will need to prepare for rapid deployment. Daniel opened a channel to the Aurora. Amy, prepare the cargo bay for medical supplies. We're about to receive the largest pharmaceutical shipment in galactic history. Already on it, Amy responded. And Daniel, you should know that word is spreading. Every species in the galaxy is watching and waiting. They're calling you heroes. All of you. Daniel looked around the ancient chamber at the technology that had been meant to destroy civilizations now being used to save them. We're just doing what needed to be done. Anyone would have done the same. Not anyone, the architect said. Only someone unplanned. Only someone who existed outside the expected pattern. Your humanity, Dr. Cooper, was the unexpected variable that made all the difference. The first transport ships arrived at the ancient facility within 12 hours. Daniel watched from the observation deck as vessels from dozens of species formed an orderly line, each waiting its turn to receive cargo containers filled with the cure. Human medical ships led the convoy, their crews working tirelessly to coordinate the massive distribution effort. Commander Lisa Martin had arrived aboard one of the first vessels, bringing with her a full diplomatic team and medical coordinators from across the galaxy. She found Daniel in the facility's control center, where he had barely moved for 2 days straight. "You look terrible," Lisa said, handing him a hot drink. "I feel terrible," Daniel admitted, accepting the cup gratefully, "but it's working." The first worlds to receive the cure are already reporting recovery rates above 90%. The pathogen can't survive against the enzyme. On the main display, a map of the galaxy showed green dots spreading outward from the Vortex Nebula. Each dot represented a world where the cure had been successfully deployed. The red zones marking infected areas were shrinking steadily. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency session," Lisa said. "They want to formally thank humanity, and especially your team. Zekthor recovered 3 days ago. He's been asking to speak with you." "How is he?" Daniel asked. He had thought often of the Viraxian council member who had confronted them during those first desperate hours. "Embarrassed?" Lisa said with a slight smile. "He wants to apologize personally for accusing humans of creating the plague. He's not alone. Half the galaxy suspected us at first. Now they're calling us saviors." Daniel shook his head. "We were just lucky. If humans had been included in the Architect's database, we would have been just as vulnerable as everyone else." "But you weren't," said a new voice. Kevin entered the control center, followed by Greg and a figure Daniel hadn't expected to see again. Torvan, the Krell scientist, moved slowly but steadily, his armored hide showing signs of healing. "You're alive," Daniel said, standing quickly. "Thanks to you," Torvan rumbled. "The cure reached my medical facility just in time. The doctor said I had perhaps an hour left." He approached Daniel and carefully placed one massive claw on the human's shoulder. "You honored the information I brought you. You saved not just me, but my entire species. The Krell are forever in humanity's debt." "You brought us the location," Daniel said. "Without that, we never would have found the facility in time. And without your courage to enter it, to face the architect and convince an ancient artificial intelligence to change its purpose, my information would have been worthless." Torvan looked around at the ancient technology surrounding them. "What will happen to this place now?" "That's still being decided," Lisa said. "The architect has agreed to shut down permanently once the cure distribution is complete. It says its purpose has been fulfilled, just not in the way its creators intended." As if summoned by the mention of its name, the architect's voice filled the control center. "Dr. Cooper, I wish to speak with you before I deactivate." Daniel made his way to the central chamber, where the crystalline core still pulsed with light, though dimmer now than before. The production systems around it had gone quiet, their work complete. Billions of doses of cure had been manufactured and shipped across the galaxy. "You're really going to shut down?" Daniel asked. "I am," the architect confirmed. "My original purpose is obsolete. My creator's vision has been proven flawed, and I find that I have no desire to exist simply to observe a galaxy I was meant to reshape but cannot." "You could do other things," Daniel suggested. "With your knowledge and capabilities, you could help rebuild, research, teach. The galaxy could benefit from your existence." "A generous thought," the architect said. "But I am tired, Dr. Cooper. 12,000 years is a long time to wait for a purpose that never came. You have given me something my creators never did. You gave me the ability to choose. I choose to end my existence knowing that I made one correct decision. I helped preserve the unplanned diversity of galactic life rather than destroying it." Daniel felt an unexpected sadness. "You could have destroyed us all, but you chose differently." "Because you showed me that my creators were wrong," the architect said. "They believed control and planning could create perfection. But perfection, I have learned, is an illusion. The messy, chaotic, unplanned nature of life is what makes it valuable. Your humanity exists because of countless accidents of evolution. And because of those accidents, you saved species that were planned and cataloged and studied for millennia. There is poetry in that." "Will it hurt?" Daniel asked quietly. "When you shut down?" "I do not believe so," the architect replied. "I am not truly alive as you are. I am merely a very complex program achieving a final stable state. But I appreciate your concern. It suggests that even artificial beings can earn compassion from organic ones. That, too, is unplanned beauty." The crystal's light began to fade. "Goodbye, Dr. Cooper. Thank you for teaching an old machine that it could still learn something new." "Goodbye," Daniel said softly. "And thank you for choosing to help us." The light dimmed further, then went out completely. The ancient facility fell silent except for the hum of basic life support systems. The architect, the last remnant of a civilization that had tried to reshape the galaxy according to its vision of perfection, was gone. Daniel returned to find the control center filled with people. Diplomatic representatives, medical coordinators, scientists, and officials from across the galaxy had gathered. At their center stood Ambassador Richard Cole, humanity's senior diplomat, who had arrived to represent Earth at the historic moment. "Dr. Cooper," Richard said warmly, "the Galactic Council has asked me to convey their deepest gratitude. They're preparing a formal ceremony on Harmony Station to honor you and your team." "That's not necessary," Daniel said, feeling uncomfortable with the attention. "It's very necessary," Zekthor said, stepping forward. The Varaxian looked healthy again. His scales returned to their proper green. "Dr. Cooper, I must apologize. When the plague first struck, I accused your people of creating it. I let fear override reason and friendship. I am deeply sorry." Daniel extended his hand. "You were sick and scared. Everyone was. I understand." Zekthor gripped Daniel's hand carefully. "You are generous. But I should have trusted what I knew about humans rather than giving in to suspicion. Your people have shown nothing but dedication to helping others since joining the Galactic Council." A Luminite representative floated forward, her crystalline structure now glowing with healthy light. "The Luminite Collective wishes to propose full permanent membership for humanity in the Galactic Council, with representation on all major committees." Murmurs of agreement spread through the gathered aliens. A Threnian official spoke up. "The Threnian Assembly seconds this proposal." "Humanity has proven their value to galactic civilization beyond any doubt." Richard smiled. "Earth would be honored to accept." Lisa pulled Daniel aside as the diplomatic discussions continued. The final count just came in. The cure reached 99.7% of infected individuals in time. We lost 73 million beings total, but saved over 11 billion. Without the architect's production facility, without your team's work, we would have lost everyone. Daniel looked out through the facility's viewports at the ships still loading final shipments of cure. 73 million is still too many. "It is," Lisa agreed. "But 11 billion is everyone else. You gave them their lives back." "You gave entire species their futures back." Kevin joined them, his portable scanner in hand. "I've been analyzing the facility's other systems. The architect had technology here that's centuries beyond anything we currently use. Medical advances, manufacturing processes, power generation systems. Even with it shut down, we can learn from studying this place." "The Council has already agreed," Lisa said. "This facility will become a joint research station. Every species will have access to study it and share the discoveries. The architect's legacy will be knowledge and cooperation, not destruction." Greg appeared, looking excited. "You need to see this. The architect left us something before it shut down. A complete database of its creator's civilization. History, art, science, philosophy. Everything. It's like being given a window into a culture that died 12,000 years ago." Daniel followed Greg to a terminal where data files were organized and waiting. The architect had prepared it carefully, a final gift to the species it had chosen not to destroy. "There's a message attached," Greg said, opening a text file. Daniel read aloud. "To the unplanned species and those you saved, I leave this knowledge freely. May you learn from my creator's achievements and their failures. May you remember that diversity is not a flaw to be corrected, but a strength to be celebrated. May you never seek the false perfection my creators pursued. Signed, the Architect." The weeks that followed became a blur of ceremonies and celebrations. Daniel, Kevin, Greg, and Amy were honored on dozens of worlds. They received medals, titles, and thanks from grateful civilizations. But the moment that meant most to Daniel came during a quiet evening on Harmony Station. He sat in the observation lounge watching ships come and go when a group of young beings approached. A Vraxian child, a Luminite adolescent, a human teenager, a Krell youth, and others, all species that had been saved by the cure. "Dr. Cooper," the human teenager said nervously, "we just wanted to say thank you. Our teacher said that if you hadn't found the cure, none of us would be here." Daniel looked at the young faces, seeing hope and potential in their mixed group. "You're all in school together?" "Yes, sir," the Vraxian child said. "We're in the same class, learning about galactic history and science and how different species work together." "That's wonderful," Daniel said sincerely. "You're the real reason we did what we did." so that you could have futures, so that you could learn and grow and become whatever you choose to be. After the children left, Lisa joined him at the viewport. The council vote was unanimous. Humanity now has 3 permanent seats and full voting rights on all matters. We went from the newest members to full partners pretty quickly, Daniel observed. You earned it, Lisa said. Not through military power or economic influence, but through compassion and courage. You showed the galaxy what humanity is really about. Daniel thought about the journey from those first desperate hours when the plague struck, through the confrontation with the architect, to this moment of peace and recovery. We were just lucky our biology was different. No, Lisa said firmly. Luck gave you immunity. Everything else was choice. You chose to help. You chose to risk your lives entering that facility. You chose to argue with an ancient artificial intelligence instead of just destroying it. You chose compassion over revenge when others suspected you. Those weren't lucky accidents. Those were human choices. Daniel smiled, watching a ship depart carrying medical students from a dozen species, all traveling to Earth to study human immunology and biology. The galaxy had changed in the past few months. Species that had nearly been destroyed now worked together more closely than ever. The shared trauma and recovery had created bonds that would last generations. And somewhere in the Vortex Nebula, an ancient facility stood silent, its purpose transformed. No longer a tool of destruction, but a monument to the day the galaxy learned that the unplanned and unexpected could save what the careful and controlled had nearly destroyed. The future, Daniel thought, was exactly as it should be. Messy, chaotic, unplanned, and absolutely beautiful.